Well, on the back of a 5-game winning streak, we welcome you to a new edition of the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface, Copilot Plus PC, with the head coach of your Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay. I'm JB Long. The Rams are atop the NFC, tied at 8-2 with Philadelphia. Good to see you, Sean, and congratulations on a great home victory.
Yeah, no, it was a great job. Our guys just found a way, a unique game, kind of the way that it unfolded in terms of the possession, but you really see it, being able to capitalize on some red area, whether it's the stops or the conversions, being able to, win the turnover margin. Those were key and critical factors, but man, so proud of our group, and it was a big one against a really tough team.
I could tell it was a big one because you celebrated that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of fans took joy in, is they knew how big a game it was. And maybe it didn't go the way that you had it played out in your mind, but to see you cut loose and to see everyone celebrate, whether they played well or not, whether they accomplished what they thought they would or not, it was really organic and enjoyable.
It was great. And, you don't take for granted, just finding different ways. And I think that's what good teams do, is find different ways depending upon how the flow of the game unfolds, or, who needs to pick one another up. And that's what a team is all about, is everybody staying connected. We did that. Like I mentioned in the locker room afterwards, what a job by our defense to be able to force four turnovers. What a job by our special teams, to be able to pin them deep, to be able to convert on the extra points, pretty clean with the punt operation overall throughout the course of the day. And then, what a job by our offense to be able to, go 3 for 4 in the red area. Obviously, our guys are going to want to be able to go 4 for 4, but man, there's a lot of learning and a lot of growth, and that's what it's about in this journey.
There's a sentiment that's kind of been percolating for a few weeks now. I wonder if you can color it in for us. My conception of it is like poise through imperfection.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Whether it's Matthew at the podium or Devontae after the game, you've talked about it. Kobe Turner did too. Like, did that game go the way that you thought or had hoped? Not necessarily, but no one was flustered by it. Offense, defense, or special teams. You knew you had a great opponent, and if you made enough winning plays, you'd come out on top.
That's exactly right. And what they've done is they've feasted. I mean, they've been just pounding people, and they've feasted on bad football. And there were some instances where you look at it, I thought, relatively speaking, we took good care of the football, very uncharacteristic, and it's a great play by them to force that fumble on Puka. But we did take care of the football. We had the one where we didn't convert in the red area on the first drive, but those are plays that we've made a lot more of than what we've missed on, and we'll continue to be confident and be aggressive in that area of the field. And and then they end up scoring. Our offense did a good job of scoring on the other 3 possessions that they did have. And you just stay in the fight, you stay connected, and ultimately, I thought our defense, led the way and did a great job.
Yeah. All right, let's start on defense. And I think leading question is, how did you cap what was the most explosive passing game in the league, really, coming to SoFi Stadium, and limit them to a long of 28 in the passing game?
Yeah, I thought we did a great job of rush and coverage being coordinated. I thought we knocked out the run. They did a good job on a couple different things. They were going to make theirs. But I thought really our back end, and really it's all 11. We talk about 11 as one, rush and coverage. And I think you'll see on all 4 of the turnovers, it was excellent, where you might have said, people that don't know what they're talking about, oh, there's 0 sacks. Well, watch how he was influenced and affected with the push of the pocket, a guy flashing in his face, where now he's got to speed up the timing and rhythm, and it allows Kitch to be able to get 2, Darius Williams to get 1, and to Kobe to be able to do a great job of playing clean on the outside and being able to jump a good route while playing it true.
I'll take it one step further. I think from the Seattle side, there was a recognition after the game they probably should have taken some sacks, or would have been better off taking some sacks against that pressure rather than putting a ball in jeopardy.
Don't tell him to do that.
We won't remind him come December. Yeah. That 28-yarder was a great one-handed catch by JSN too. He's something to see in person.
He's a great player, and you see, and they do a good job moving him around. But a guy that can win inside, outside. He's got great hands. He's strong at the catch point. Good transition. Good rack. You see what he's on pace to do, and he's a real one. I got a lot of respect, and seeing him in person, I think you can appreciate it even more than what the tape shows, and the tape is really impressive as well.
Chris Shula, better game planner or game caller?
Both. I mean, and I think what's great is I think he does both of those excellent, and it's a collaboration always. The players bring it to life, but one of the things that I think makes him a great leader is the collaboration amongst his staff, and our defensive staff as a whole. Giff Smith, Drew Wilkins with our interior defensive line, Joe Caniglia with our edge. You look at Greg Williams with our inside linebackers, and then Aubrey Pleasant, Chris Beek, Mike Harris, Alex Van Pelt. All of those guys have been key and critical, and there's amazing collaboration throughout the course of the game. Chris does a great job of being able to lean on the totality of it all for how he's calling a game, how he's game planning, and those guys deserve a ton of credit, and then ultimately the players bringing it to life.
Yeah, Aubrey's like a pitching coach. He's got a whole bullpen worth of defensive backs.
I can't say enough about his leadership and what he's done, as an assistant head coach, where he, really does a great job of leading our football team, but his ability to be able to instill a confidence and a belief and get guys to play, at their best is a really special trait. What's the mark of a good coach?
You referenced those 4 takeaways and how rush and cover played together. It's time for our film breakdown presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot plus PC, where every day is game day, and I think you'll see some of that here. We picked out a couple of plays, Sean. Kam Kinchens may not always get interceptions, but when he does, he prefers the Seahawks, apparently. Let's go to his second.
Yeah,
off of
this is
Sam
a great
Darnold
return
here.
right here, too. Number one, great rush, great push by Fisk. You feel it, and then great job by Omar Spates being able to carry that seam, forces the throw to be able to just take a little bit longer, and now Kitch ends up being able to trigger. But, to be able to have guys that can make these types of plays, when you get your hands on the football, to be able to catch it is special. Great break by him, and then excellent after the catch right there. I mean, putting his foot in the ground, making Murray miss right there, or Walker, and he's a stud. I'm really happy for Kitch, but he saves his best for the Seahawks, that's for sure.
So after the quarter break, it's 4 plays later, and you've got 1st and goal from the 6, and a former Seahawk scores a fourth-quarter touchdown to help you win for the 2nd week in a row in Colby Parkinson.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we gave him some grief last week for one of his run after the catches, and great catch, great job to be able to make 39 miss and then being able to go up. And this really felt like a big play because they're in a man coverage. He does a good job of running away from it, putting kind of hands on, and then there's enough space where he stiff arms him, clubs him by right there. This is really cool for Colby. It's a great play. It's an excellent throw by Matthew right here. DeMarcus Lawrence right in his face, and really special. And when the way that this game was going, for us to go up 9 points felt big, and it ended up being enough for us to hold off yesterday.
I don't know how similar the first red zone op was, but I did hear Matthew say he felt like that was a throw he could have found. Was it Higbee maybe? And so
yeah,
maybe,
he had a couple guys that he could have hit, whether it be Higbee or Devontae right there. But those are plays that he'll make. And the best part about Matthew and really our team as a whole, there's accountability, whether it's, decisions that we can make as a coaching staff, myself in particular, to help, create a, higher percentage of successful outcomes. And then when you've got a guy that's at the switch leading the way, that the first thing he does is look inward. Now you can move on, and he's special. We're going to keep putting the ball in his hands.
To that tight end room, last year statistically the least productive in the National Football League. Here in 25, they've already blasted through their totals in catches, yards, touchdowns. It's not even close. What do you think is the difference?
Well, I think they're getting opportunities. I think that's really what it is. More opportunities. They've earned it, and they're capitalizing on it. And so I didn't know that stat, but
granted, Higbee was on the shelf for most of last season. To be fair, and you've got a first pick in this draft there.
But I think the reality is just more opportunities, and then they're delivering, and they're doing a good job of that. And so proud of them, and they're going to continue to come their way.
Unfortunately, Higbee a little bit dinged up at the end of that game.
He is, yeah. He got his ankle rolled up on the 1 3rd and 15 that we threw to Puka, where we came up just a yard short. He's as tough as it gets, so we'll see where he's at. But that was a bummer for him.
What about Captain Q and his injury?
Still waiting to get the final report, but for him to go out, how tough he is. It's probably not looking great with the elbow. We'll see exactly what not great means in terms of if he misses time, how much time is that? Is he IR? Does this require a surgery? And I'll have a little bit more information as we go.
One of the players who was already part of your game plan but stepped into more was Josh Wallace. Yeah. Why did he make sense in that moment, and how did he do?
He's done a great job. Josh is so smart. He can play star, he can play outside corner, he can play safety for us. Just a guy that's so valuable and so versatile. And he came in and almost played 30 snaps, did a phenomenal job. What we ask of Q is amazing, especially at the star position. And I think it's such a credit to, like we mentioned Aubrey, but it's also Josh deserves a lot of credit. Coach Beak, and then Jacoby Durant even played some inside slot towards the latter parts of the game when they were in kind of the known pass 2-minute situations, and he did an amazing job. So tip of the cap to Josh. We'll see what this looks like moving forward, but he's always stepped in, and the game's never too big for him.
When you made the move to acquire Roger McCreary a couple weeks ago, you must have said depth about 100 times to everyone who would listen. You didn't know what was coming down the pike, but now here's a moment where you do have a few more options to deploy in your toolkit when necessary. That might be now, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's, you never want that stuff to come to fruition, but you do have to have contingency plans in place, just knowing how this game can sometimes unfold and the brutal, hard facts about, when injuries occur. And we'll see what it looks like for Q, but it is something that, if he's going to miss some time, we'll put our heads together with the defensive coaches and figure out how to maximize our roster.
How's Ahkello doing?
He's doing good. He's making good progress. He's saying Reggie's holding them back. So, we'll see where we're at. I think, December is kind of what we've kind of targeted, but we'll see when we're able to start his clock.
Flip to the offense a little bit. Is that the best defense in Seattle that you've seen this season? Fair to say?
We've seen some good ones. You start off against an excellent one in Houston, but I give them credit. They're definitely an upper echelon, top tier. Great players, great coaches. They did a great job, and the game was unique in terms of the way that it unfolded. Kind of like what we were talking about before we started here. Just in terms of we did some uncharacteristic things that put us beyond the sticks. Give them credit for kind of probably forcing us into some of those things, whether it's pre-snap issues or even not targeting or blocking certain surfaces the way we're capable of. There was a couple calls that I definitely need to be better for our players, and I will be, and we'll keep it moving. But they found a way to make enough plays in spite of the limited opportunities that they did have.
Kyren Williams, I find it pretty cool
great.
that a kid from St. Louis who grew up watching the Rams and looking up to Steven Jackson is now top 10 in franchise history in career rushing. How does that land for you?
Well, I think what lands for me is what a special person and player he's become. And, I think he's earned everything that he's gotten. He continues to work hard. He continues to stay humble. The energy and the passion that he plays with becomes contagious for our football team. And I thought he was a real bright spot for our offense yesterday.
The 4th and goal gun run, was that call it and run it? Did Matthew check to that? Will you tell us here? Keep that one to yourself. It was a good job by those guys being able to execute. I'll give you credit in this regard. I thought it was, one of my favorite calls of yours from the season.
Yeah.
Because there was a no flinch mentality to that. You've been stuffed a couple of times. Yep. 4th down didn't work out earlier in the game, but to do it in that spot.
Yeah, no, it was great. The guys executed right there, and they were definitely thinking pass there. I can promise you that.
I was thinking pass. If anyone had watched the Rams for the first half of the season.
But the players, their execution was great. And that we needed that. That was a big one. It says it's a 1-yard touchdown. It's really on the 2.
It was. It was touching the 2.
Was. That's why they matched the way that they did.
Well, there are a couple spotting issues in that first half, but I won't get there. And the reason they were thinking pass is because Devontae is leading the league in touchdown receptions, especially in that tight area. Yeah, probably less than 100%, I think, fair to say, but he gave you the one that counted, didn't he?
He did, yeah. They did a great job, and it, ended up having to be able to, win on a quick isolation slant, and Matthew did a great job of being able to find the void based on what that was. Yeah.
Can we go back to the early down thing? Because probably the unheralded part of the success you've had so far this season is being on schedule.
Yeah.
Very few negatives, very few tough downs and distances. I don't think anyone in this building needs to know how important that is, but was that a great illustration of why?
Yeah, it's a great illustration, and, you heard it. I guarantee you that was a focal point for them. That's a focal point for any offense, but the other part of that, too, is like you're able to sustain drives, and then you can really have stuff sequence off of one another, and then our guys have the ability to be able to present some things that are complements off of one another, which is a foundational philosophy for all offenses. And so that was a big thing, and that's what a blessing for us to be able to learn from it. And it was one of those weird games where the possessions were limited, the amount of possession that they were able to sustain offensively, and kind of some of the turnovers we got where you get it in the tight red area, but you're not getting some normal field ball, and some of the inventory, there was just a lot of things that we didn't necessarily get off because of the minimal amount of snaps. And you give them credit, they had to say, but I think our guys will have the right sense of urgency and understanding where we can collectively as a group be able to learn and respond and have the appropriate urgency and growth mindset as we move forward towards the Bucs.
Yeah. I want to get to the Ethan Evans punt in just a second, but before we do, that punt's probably not possible without the first down jet sweep to Puka to win you some field position. How important was that call and that execution?
That was huge, and then you look at, we're just so close. If we stay connected in one area on the next first down, that thing's going to pop for a big gain. It was very similar to a couple of those runs that Kyren busted out for explosive runs, and so the margin for error is small. But what our guys are saying is it shouldn't have had that got to punting it at all.
Right.
And even on the third down, we could do a good job of, being on the same page, when we rip across as we get through that progression of, being able to get that, connection between those two guys. And I think that thing comes out for, a conversion as well.
So how about the punt of the year?
Unbelievable.
I mean, knowing that a field goal wins it going the other way, to put them inside the one.
Yeah, it was, hey, you can't hit it any better than that.
You couldn't have walked it down there.
And so what a job by Ethan. And, really cool for him. I thought he was outstanding. I think he's been great as a holder. We like him when he's holding and not punting a lot better, for the overall team success. But we had to have it, and we needed every one of those yards because you look at where that last attempt was from, and awesome job by Ethan. Fired up for him.
Yeah. How's Jake McQuaide been in a couple of weeks? Have you felt his impact?
Yeah, he's done a really good job. I think he's a steady force. I think best part about Jake is he's going to, the first thing he says in the locker room, he's pissed off about one of the punts that we did have where, he kind of got a little bit picked and we gave up some inside penetration, but he'll get it fixed. He's accountable, but he was outstanding. Love having Jake back here.
And I know we're monitoring the place kicking situation. Mevis hadn't kicked a field goal yet, but still perfect on the extra points.
Yep.
And in terms of your roster space and management, any decision point this week?
No, I mean, he's good. He's 9 for 9 on those, and, we'll probably, we'll see how it goes, but he's done an excellent job. I think the timing, the location, the accuracy, he's done what he can do so far.
Sure. All right, there's maybe a human nature, a potential for a letdown, except, look, what's coming next? Sunday Night Football at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And when we're all done with this many years down the road, how special is Baker's chapter going to be in your book?
Yeah, special, and he's one of those guys, we feel really fortunate to have Matthew leading the way for us, and he's an igniter, he's an elevator of, the situations he's a part of and the people that he's around, and that's what Baker's done. He's done that, throughout his career, and it's going to be a great challenge for us to be able to try to slow them down offensively because he's been doing a great job of being able to make that offense really successful and their team as a whole.
Be it because of him or Liam being there, I have a memory of you kind of monitoring Tampa Bay and what they were doing offensively from afar last year. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah.
And
I think you try to have a good feel for the pulse of the league in general, and they were so successful and did some really cool stuff, and a lot of the foundational philosophies are similar, so absolutely that's fair to say.
It is also Aaron Donald bobblehead night. We hope you can be there.
Hopefully his bobblehead's better than mine was.
That was my question. I mean, it may or may not be over your shoulder. What didn't you like about yours? It's popular, at least at my house.
I think I'd much rather have Aaron Donald's bobblehead than mine. I shouldn't have a bobblehead.
What about that life-size one that was out here at the facility last week?
Which one?
Oh, good. You didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
It scared some people.
The life-size bobblehead of who?
The GOAT. Aaron.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, so that one is not going to be available at SoFi Stadium, but be sure to come out and get yours against the Buccaneers because it sure is nice when that opposing quarterback is lifting his cleat for the silent couch, Sean.
No doubt.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great. Yeah, no, the fans were outstanding. You felt that energy, and we're going to need it on Sunday night, against the Bucs this week.
Keep it going. Good to be with you. Congratulations on an 8th victory, and we look forward to seeing you at SoFi Stadium this Sunday night. For Sean McVay, I'm JB Long. The Coach McVay Show is presented by Microsoft Surface, Copilot, plus PC.